Hi everybody, this is TJ with NetPicks.com and the PTU Trend Jumper Trade Strategy. Hope you had a nice 3-day weekend. Today was one of those days that the biggest risk was just not getting bored to death. The market started really slow, but just by staying with the trade plan and hunkering down and remaining disciplined and focused, it ended up being a pretty outstanding session across the board on everything we were trading today in the live trade room. I'm going to quickly walk through a bunch of the trades today and talk about them. Think we'll have time to look at some Forex too. We've got some swing trades triggering in on Forex, and those are all looking really good too. Lots of winning trades in Forex happening as well. So hopefully we'll get to that in this video. If not, then I'll do a new video on Forex, so you want to check back for that. So let's jump right into this morning's session with crude oil. Crude oil starting at 850. The first trade of the day came right here at 902, and it triggered in. There was a little burst of energy, and the market started moving up, but then it came right down and stopped out. So the first trade of the day on crude oil lost 12 ticks per position. So that's minus 24. And we're thinking, oh no, here we go with the no news, not Monday, but Tuesday after a 3-day weekend. And it was looking kind of like it was going to be one of those sessions because the markets were kind of choppy to start and very slow and uneventful on a lot of markets. But it just goes to show why you don't want to try to anticipate what's going to happen. You just want to go with the plan, because the plan is where the money's being made over time. And it's something we teach, and we see it over and over again. The next trade was a short on the 19th of February. The next trade was a short at 907. And notice that it's all laid out in front of us here, 96.44. We always make a little adjustment off the key levels of 5s and 0s. Just a habit. You wouldn't have had to in this case, but it's just something we do. Stabbed down, got to the full target, no problem. That was good for 13. Okay, we're still trying to make up some ground from that first loss, but now we're trailing our jump line, and it trailed lower and lower, and it finally came off all the way down here. And so that was a nice trade, and that one gained 17. And so we're already up by 6 ticks. 1 loss, 1 winner. We go for power of quitting 2 winners on crude oil. So we're still looking for one more trade. And we got one here at 922. Triggered long. The entry is at 31. And you could have added your position, but that's not something we do here. You would have stopped out if you did. We do take these add-ons with the Forex swing trades. On the day trades, we just point them out in the room. We already had positive session, looking for one more winner, came right here, and then we're trailing the rest, but that one was able to get us 14 cents, so there's another 14, trailing the jump line, and it ended up coming off just a tiny bit below, 1 tick below actually, right there. So the trailer got 13. And that's it. We won 2 out of 3. Seemed to be the beginnings of a real slow, boring, choppy session. Ended up working out with 33 cents. So that's $330 with the 2-position approach on crude oil. Not too bad. Now in the process of all this occurring, the Dowie Mini gave us a nice trade. Let me show you that one. Alright, so on the Dowie Mini we had a long trade here. It was our first trade of the day at 13.971. Again, a little adjustment off the 0. It's just a good habit. And there's a little wrinkle in the trade plan that I always incorporate with small trades, whereas if it's less than 8 points to our middle target, which is 7.6. Actually, we were going to the third target on this one. And because of our 1-tick adjustment, it was only 7 points to the third target. So it's less than 8 points. My style is I won't exit at that level. Instead, I'll just let the green dotted line guide my exit. because I'm comfortable with the small risk. I only got 9 points of risk on this trade. So I want to make more than 7 points on my target, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? So when this happened, some of the traders were jumping out. They were afraid of the swing high. But I was comfortable with the risk, and I want to stay in there until it goes 10 points. So when it got to 81, which was here, then I'm going to lock in 1 point. So the stop's going to 7.2, see? And then I have a risk-free trade. So if it comes down and stops out, no big deal. I cover my costs. But I have the chance to pick up a nice gain with very low risk. So, as a poker player, and I have fun playing poker with my buddies on the weekends, we call this pot odds, right? You got low risk and the chance to hit a big pot. So you're going to play any 2 cards. And in this particular trade, I'm just guiding my trade based on my rules. The target was only 7 points. My minimum target, I want to be 8 points. Otherwise, I don't exit at the target. I leave both positions on and trail the green dotted line, the jump line. So look what happened. Not only can you add to your position, again, that's always optional, but it's nice to point it out when that happens. That was a nice winner. But apart from that, I'm just trailing the dotted line up, up, up. I mean, who wants 7 points? I mean, what's the point in trading with 9 points of risk to exit at 7 points? It doesn't make sense. So follow the jump line. That's what's so great about this indicator. It came all the way up to here, basically. This was a 43-point move times 2 positions. So 86 points on the Dowie Mini. 86 points on 2 positions with 9 points of risk per position. That's a nice trade, wouldn't you say? 86 points, $5 a point. It's like $430 in profit. So that was how we started the week. That's it. One and done. We're done with the Dowie Mini. This is just classic trend jumper trading. So let's take a peek at the Russell. The Russell, it's not a market I particularly like to trade this time of year. I've just found over the last several years that it really doesn't start moving nicely until, first week in April, maybe a week into April, middle of April. And I've just noticed that over the years. So it's not a market I'm actively following, but it actually seems to be holding its own for the most part. There was a setup here at 936. It's the exact same trade plan as everything else I've shown you. This trade actually canceled. So we had to wait for new setup. And, based on some rules that you learn when you learn the trend jumper. Real simple. This one triggered in, though. This is at 948. Got long at 926.6. This one's going to the middle target. Again, it's just a subtle difference in the trade plan. That's a full target. Only took a few bars. It was able to grab 12 ticks. It's $120. And then trailing up. There's another setup here that canceled. And the trailer actually came off at, 927.4. So the trailer didn't get very much. The trailer only got 60 cents. But all in all, it was $180, one and done on the Russell. So not so bad. Like I said, the session started really boring, but then it just ended up being a great session. Let's look at a few more. So one of the markets a lot of us like to trade, and one I follow in the live trade room, is unleaded. You may have seen this on a recent video. First trade of the day came at 10:08 this morning, and it was a short at 29.49, right? Making that little adjustment, and we actually would have needed to adjust a little further. Go down to 43 if you want. It's a big enough trade where you can. You don't have to. Sometimes it makes sense to make those adjustments. This was optional. I think most traders just got in at 49. But look at it, just plowed right through. No problem getting to the full target. In this case, the third target. Ended up being a really great trade. And that was good for 62 ticks at $4.20 a tick. And the second position didn't do quite as well. It stopped out up here, but it was still good for another 18 ticks. So all in all, 80 ticks on one trade on unleaded gas. I mean, that's over $300. And that's it. We're done. So let's look at heating oil. This is one of our star performers, and heating oil actually got short ahead of us. There are a lot of traders getting it at 8:30, in which case you can get short right in here. That's a little bit ahead of me because I'm on the West Coast. I'm just getting my computer turned on, getting ready to start, get my first cup of coffee. So I'm missing this trade. I just don't start that early. I start at 9, but a lot of traders are able to grab that. So, there was this trade that set up at 9:22. Unfortunately, it just barely ticked in and barely ticked out. So you had to end up with a loss to start heating oil. Then you had the second trade right here. And this one, again, I showed this on unleaded. You make the small adjustment to get around the swing level. It's not that big of an adjustment for a market that can move like this. So, if you don't make the adjustment, you have another loss. It's really no big deal. We know we're going to get a couple losses from time to time on heating oil. It's just, it's any market. So this one, I think, 50-50. I personally avoided it. Some traders took it. And then there was this one. And again, here's a case where there's not a whole lot you can do. The entry's at 58. The swing level's at 59. It already gets you below the swing. There's really no adjusting. And so that one's a loss as well. So if you took all three, you're down 3 trades. If you avoided one of them, then you're down 2 trades. It's still nothing to fret over. I mean, it's not that uncommon. It happens quite often. I'm sure all of you have experienced 3 losses in a row. But what's great about heating oil is it makes it back so quickly. Here's the trade that we were all in, and this one came all the way down, right? It had no problem hitting its first target. This is a smaller time frame than unleaded, so the targets are a little smaller. That one got 38 cents, and then it trailed all the way down to 17.01, down to here. And believe it or not, I mean, this one trade makes up for 2 losses. So if you avoided the middle one by the adjustment, a pretty obvious adjustment, then all of a sudden you're positive 16 ticks and you're done for the session, even though you only had one winner. That's the power of this strategy, because as I've shown you many times, you're only risking this small amount between these 2 lines here, right? And to go to the fixed target, you're going almost double. And so just the fixed target alone erases nearly 2 losses, or 1 loss with 2 positions. But you erase a lot, right? And then meanwhile, you pick up a lot more on the trailer. So a nice trade. And then look, you could have taken another trade here, it would have broke even. So if you needed another trade, you'd have a break-even trade. And then you would have probably had another loser, but then you would have had another winner. You would have fought your way back, basically. So heating oil, an excellent market, very forgiving. This session turned out different for different traders depending on how you handled that second trade. Okay? But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We talk about these all the time in the trade room. We are going to have to hit some losses to get our winners. That's just the cost of doing business. That's what winning trading is all about. The trade plan itself is where we make our money. And, you apply the 5% art, which we teach. Small, minor adjustments, no more, no less. Just reading your chart, sensible adjustments. In my book, this session ended up 1 winner, 2 losses, and 16 ticks positive for the session. But what about wheat? Wheat was the star of the day, as usual. So wheat started kind of awkward. The first trade of the day coming, it set up 15 minutes early. It was really slow until the pit opened at 9:30 Central. And look at the entry. It's like 2 ticks above this major swing level and 2.5 ticks above this major support level. And it's a bigger than usual trade. Going to the third target, so a nice big trade. And normally I don't like to make a 3-tick adjustment, but I think in this case you have to. And you know what? It wouldn't have mattered. It was like a waste. This is why I don't like to make those adjustments. But when you're on the right edge of the chart, you want to avoid getting ticked in at a key level and then having it move higher. So the adjustment makes sense. You have enough room in the trade to still profit nicely. So we all got in here not at 740. but we got in at 739 and a quarter. And it ended up jiggling around a bit, but then it moved lower. Some traders waited for the smaller setup here, and that's certainly an option. That was a winner, no problem. But look at how this one ended up hitting a beautiful target, but then it went lower and lower and lower and lower, and it finally stopped out at 732. This was a 12-point trade. 4 3/4 points on the adjusted entry to fixed target, and then another 7 1/4 points. 12 points. It's a $600 trade in wheat to start the day. I mean, it just didn't seem like we can do anything wrong today with the trend jumper. It was a beautiful session. You want to make sure you are signed up for the webinar coming up. We're going to be releasing the MT4 version. So speaking of MT4, let's take a look at some of the swing trades that are in play right now that you can grab with either TradeStation, NinjaTrader, or MT4.